96% of rich people avoid banking in the 5 countries that I'm about to expose, even though mainstream experts are still recommending these places today. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what these 5 countries are, the little known dangers of banking there, and what you should be doing instead. Alright, so let's start by taking a look at this list. Now, you can probably guess what country number 2 and country number 5 are, but I think the other 3 countries are going to surprise you, including country number 1. Now, this is a popular banking hub in the Caribbean. This is an easy place to open accounts. And lots of people who come to us for help already bank here. But they eventually realize it's not a great place to keep their money. And when it comes to our wealthiest clients, this country, it definitely does not make the cut for a few key reasons. First, bank selection is super limited. There are only 3 or 4 banks that foreigners should realistically be considering here. Second, there's a severe lack of services and products to actually make use of your offshore account. And third, the overall quality of banking, it's subpar when compared to other countries that you can access with similar or even lower deposits. Now, if you haven't already guessed, country number 1 is Dominica. And if you're thinking about banking here, you really should explore other options first. And I'm going to give you a few options to consider after we get through this initial list. But just to play devil's advocate, let's talk about when it can make sense for rich people to bank here. Because there is one time, and it's if you actually establish local ties. I'm talking about citizenship, residency, or maybe investing through real estate. Though even then, you shouldn't park your wealth in Dominica. You should just use it for local transactional banking instead. Okay, country number 2. Now, like I said, you can probably guess this one, because I've shared in past videos that banking here should be avoided. And that's because the country and the banks struggle with correspondent banking relationships. But on top of that, the banking options are extremely limited and the deposit requirements are way too low, which makes it too easy for the wrong people to open accounts here. Now, I should point out that like a lot of countries on this list, just because this isn't a good banking option doesn't mean you can't unlock other value here. And this country is actually a decent option for asset protection trusts and for residency, and it also has some interesting real estate options to consider. But like I said, our richest clients, they're not banking here. So the country that I'm talking about is Belize. Yes, we do get people asking about banking in Belize, though it tends to be folks looking for budget-friendly or low deposit options. But even with low deposits, almost everyone can access better banking options in other countries. Now, if you just want us to tell you which countries you can qualify to bank in at your desired deposit level, you can use the free assessment linked in the description below, and we'll just tell you for free. Okay, now country number 3, it's gonna be a completely different beast, and I don't think I've ever talked about banking here before, but people, they keep asking us about opening accounts in this country, which is odd, because our richest clients, they never keep money here. Because frankly, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, this country is deep in the South Pacific Ocean, and there are a few neighboring countries that I could have added to this list instead. Think the Cook Islands, which is interesting for asset protection, but not really for banking. Now, the country that I'm talking about is Vanuatu, and it's not a stable or reliable place to bank. And frankly, if you have accounts here, it's going to raise red flags with your other banks in other countries whenever you're sending or receiving money. Now, Vanuatu does have a CBI program, so like Dominica and Belize, if you establish other ties to the island, it could make sense to have a local retail account. But Vanuatu is not the kind of place that you should be offshoring millions of dollars. And that brings us to country number 4, which is also the only developed country on the list, and it's actually located in the European Union. But it's not our only European country, because country number 5, which I'm also about to cover, is also located in Europe. And I'm pretty sure you can already guess what it is. But first, let's look at country number 4. So, the problem that I have with this country is that it's totally inaccessible. Even if you get residency, citizenship, or open up a company, you will struggle to open bank accounts in this place. It's like the banks, they don't even want customers. And that's because in a lot of cases, they don't. And that's because this country is what we call a booking center, not a banking hub. So banks, insurance companies, and investment vehicles, they can park money here, usually to unlock tax treaties or other benefits. So the banks, they don't care about opening small bank accounts, even though from the outside, it looks like all the major banks are located here and ready to serve you. Now, the country that I'm talking about is Malta. And our rich clients know that Maltese banks are not suitable, accessible, or even worth trying to open accounts with. Instead, these rich clients focus their attention on a small number of countries that are suitable for opening accounts and holding and managing your wealth. And after I name country number 5 on the places where rich people never bank, I'm going to tell you 5 countries where rich people do bank, where they can access benefits and protect their money securely offshore. But first, country number 5. Now, like I said, this is in Europe, Eastern Europe to be specific. It has a couple of banks to choose from, it caters to non-residents, and it's been heavily promoted by international gurus for the last decade. Now, it also has two huge areas of the country that are occupied by Russia, and the domestic political scene has been a bit unstable over the last couple of years. Now, the country I'm talking about is the Republic of Georgia. And outside of banking, I actually like Georgia. I know a handful of people from Tbilisi, and I think it's got a lot of potential as a country. But when it comes to banking, it's not the sort of place that rich people should be opening accounts and storing their wealth. Instead, they should be banking in one of these 5 countries instead. Now, these are a few of the best banking hubs on the planet today. And more importantly, they include the sort of places where you can open accounts as a foreign non-resident, usually 100% remotely, and with very reasonable deposits. Plus, you can access a high level of customer service, sophisticated products, easy to use online banking, and you won't have to worry about impromptu account closures, weak correspondent banks, or your banker not responding to your emails. So right now, I'm going to tell you each of these 5 countries, how much you'll need to deposit, and when you should look somewhere else instead. Because there are a few times when even these countries should be avoided. So this first country, it's everyone's favorite place to bank right now. It's home to incredibly stable banks, excellent service, multi-currency accounts, remote opening, and some of the best online banking available anywhere. Plus, the country actually runs a surplus each year. Now, to open as a foreign non-resident, you're looking at a deposit of around 200 to 270,000 US dollars, which will give you access to premier banking. And if you haven't already guessed it, I'm talking about Singapore. And this can be an excellent option for a lot of people. But, and this is important, if you're not a regional resident, you don't live in Thailand, the Philippines, Malaysia, or even most other Asian countries, then Singapore is going to be very tough to access. Basically, what I'm saying is if you're a resident of Europe or the Americas, then you should probably bank in one of the other countries that I'm going to name instead. And if that's you, this next country could be an excellent option because it's much more flexible when it comes to onboarding clients from around the world. Rich people love banking here because you can access solid banking, great customer service if you go to the right bank, and a wide range of products and services that you can leverage to make even more money. Now, deposits in this second country, they are on the higher end, but you can usually get started somewhere in the range of $500,000 to $1 million. So the country that I'm talking about is Switzerland. This one's pretty obvious, and we help clients from all over the world unlock Swiss private banking on a regular basis. A lot of the time, these clients are seeking diversification or access to specific investments or even access to specific products like financing solutions for tax optimization. The point is, Switzerland is an excellent banking hub that caters to the needs of rich clients. So if you're rich, it's worth considering. Now, the next 3 countries might surprise you because country number 3 is one that I've never covered on this channel. Country 4 is the most hated country by rich people right now, and country number 5 is a place that everyone else tells you to avoid, which we think is crazy. All right, so like I said, I've never covered country 3 on the channel before, which might shock you, but there are 3 good reasons for this. First, foreign non-residents almost always have to show up in person to open accounts. Second, deposit requirements tend to be on the higher end for most premier and private banking hubs. And third, deposits held in this country are subjected to local inheritance rules. Now, this can be overridden if you take certain steps, but it just adds extra complexity to setting up accounts. So considering these 3 reasons, why is this country on the list? Well, it's because rich people still love banking here. And depending on where you live and your country of citizenship, this can still be one of the best options available to you. The country that I'm talking about is the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. And this is the only country on the list where you'll probably need to show up in person to open accounts. Even though most people don't think it's possible to open accounts remotely in our final 2 countries, but you can. Okay, now like I said earlier, country number 4 is the most hated country in the world by rich people right now. More millionaires are leaving this place than anywhere else in the world. And while there are plenty of reasons for this, the main catalyst was getting rid of the non-dom tax regime. Now, the country that I'm talking about is obviously the United Kingdom, and rich people from outside of the UK are still keen to bank here. But unless you actively live in the UK, we don't recommend banking here. Instead, we suggest banking in one of the UK's crown dependencies instead. I'm talking about Jersey, Guernsey, and the Isle of Man. Because here, you can access all of the benefits of UK banking while also unlocking the benefits of international and offshore banking. Plus, you can open accounts 100% remotely. Deposits are pretty reasonable, usually ranging from $5,000 on the very low end to £250,000 as a pretty standard deposit. And the banks here can offer a lot in terms of services and products, ranging from multi-currency accounts to foreign exchange and other services that wealthy people leading international lives are constantly asking us for. And that brings us to the final country that rich people want to bank in. and this is easily one of the most popular places that we get asked about. But before I share this with you, just a quick reminder, if you want our team to look at your profile and tell you which countries best meet your needs, you can fill out a free assessment using the link in the description. All right, country number 5. Here, you're going to need between $25,000 and $250,000 to open an account, though typically if you can come in with at least 100, you're going to have a few options to choose from. Now, you can open accounts 100% remotely, and you'll be able to access sophisticated products ranging from credit cards to investments and even mortgages to start buying investment properties. Now, everyone else tells you to avoid banking in this place, and frankly, we think that's crazy, because this is one of the most accessible and sophisticated banking hubs on the planet, so it should be part of your international banking stack and diversification strategy. But obviously, if you already bank here, you may want to consider one of the other 4 countries that I've just mentioned instead. Okay, so the country that I'm talking about is none other than the United States. And yes, foreign non-resident individuals can open US bank accounts remotely without a US tax identification number and with very reasonable deposits. So now you know 5 countries rich people avoid and another 5 countries that rich people use for banking on a regular basis. So the only question you have to answer is, how do you choose which of these countries is best? Well, I decided to take a look at 2 of the most popular countries that rich people are constantly using for banking to directly compare them, looking at the types of banks, the types of accounts, the deposits, even the fee structures, and of course, who should and should not bank in each of these countries. And I shared all of this with you in this video right here. So give that a click, and I'll see you over there right now to help you decide if one of these countries could be right for you.